Coming up in today's video, we deploy a multitude of tactics to deal with the foxes we need to clear before the pheasants come in, as we come across some FOMOs. I'll explain that later. Plus, listen carefully as I announce the winner of the Best Fox Call Original Mouth Caller competition from a few weeks ago. But first of all, we're getting straight in to the foxing action. I've just arrived on location where I actually saw a fox just last week. Just behind me here, this is one of the main drives of the pheasant shoot. And this field here has been very prolific for foxes over the last few years. And I quite like it because it's a good challenge. You need to know the fox's behaviour and roughly which direction it's going to come from so you can get it into a safe shooting position. Although there is a bit of gradient to the area, it is still typically quite flat. So I've got a good area over here to shoot and pretty much straight out in front, providing it comes a little way into the field. It's really very dry underfoot at the moment, so I don't want to be moving around too much on this soil because it sounds a little bit like gravel at the minute. We've not had any rain for the last few weeks. In fact, I think it's been one of the driest Mays we've had on record. I'm going to be using the trusty Icotec GC500 caller. And at this time of year, there are lots of young rabbits about, so rabbit calls, pheasant distress calls still work really well. What also works for me quite well at this time of year is the vocalisation calls from foxes themselves. So using cub distress, as there are still plenty of cubs about, and also vixen or dog calls. You can also use fighting calls as well. So that's, I think it's called fox fight. Best fox call, fox fight, something like that. But it's the sound of a couple of foxes having a fight, and because they're still very territorial at this time of year, they don't like it and they want to come in and see what's going on their patch. I've already had a quick scan around, no signs of it as of yet, but there's a large rape field behind this field that I'm hoping to get the fox to come into, and it's my belief it's going to come out of there. We'll see if I'm right. Right, let's go see if we can nab it. This particular evening it was very still indeed, so I put the caller about 70 yards away and I go and tuck myself away in the shadows of the truck. This is the area where the cover has actually been drilled. It's a very prolific area, as I said, for foxes. I've actually shown you guys a difference there between a fox hole and a badger hole, and we saw it walk up the wheeling there of this field. So that's where I've put the call. And again, it's a natural kind of walkway for foxes to come down there. So I go back near the truck and deploy my Primos trigger sticks. You can actually find these in the Team Foxer Amazon shop. I'll put a link to that in the video's description. There's plenty of useful gadgets and things there to help you out with your fox in your air rifle shooting, as well as loads of other stuff, so go ahead and check that out. I go straight into my favourite call list and pick the pheasant distress call. This is one call that you can pretty much rely on year round. It typically works very well, I find, as I scan the field with my Pulsar Accolade Thermal for movement. A couple of false alarms with hares moving and running through the field. They can look like young foxes at this time of year. So I decide to switch it up and put on the fox fight call that I talked about at the beginning of the video. There it is, 129 RG Red Fox Fight. That's the actual name of it. So with the fox fight call wailing away on the Icotec GC500 caller, I catch sight of a decent heat source just to the right of that gas gun. It's not a safe direction to shoot in this one, so I need the fox to either come quite far left at this point or quite far right. This one reads the rule books and uses the little bit of wind that we've got to try and come upwind downwind actually of the noise. It gets within range, and I stop this one with a 53 grain Hornaday round, just a smidge, perhaps over 120 yards here, 16 times mag. Well, that almost played out perfectly. It came quite far right, actually, but there we go. That was about 120 something ish, and it's quite small, so I'm assuming that's a vixen. Yes, indeed it is. And she's dry. Some tufts of fur, so she might still have some older cubs somewhere. Nevertheless, that's exactly what we came for, and that is a great result. Right, let's see if we can find some more. Indeed, I love it when a plan comes together. The farmer will be really chuffed with that one. We just now need to go and find the cubs. Here's an example of calling a fox right to the caller. Look at that, it's literally yards away, so much so the caller actually scared it off. This one ran for the hills, and try as I might to try and get it to stop, it doesn't actually stop until it gets right to the edge of this field. Distance wise, it's probably not too far away from where the other one was, but I don't know, the bullet must have caught some corn or something there, but either way it was a miss. So we've been deploying cameras in and around known spots. This is in a spinney where we've had 4 cubs in that same trap, but this last one has been very elusive indeed. I'm sure we'll catch up with it though at some point. I was asked a couple of weeks ago, could I go and see if there were many rabbits on the golf course. There wasn't. There was several muntjac there though, as you can see here, making more baby muntjac, as well as these cool little critters. Now we don't actually have too many badgers in this area, we're quite fortunate in that sense, but it's quite interesting to watch them worm, look, as this one pulls out a couple of juicy fat ones for his lunch. I did bump into a fox here, and the actual greenkeeper doesn't want any foxes on here, and because I've only got my 2.2 LR, and this is, I don't know, 130 yards here, I squeaked and couldn't get it to come, so I thought I'll go back to the car, get the 223 out, try calling it again with the Architect caller, see if we can't entice it into range. Once again, I'm using the Hornady 53 grain VMAX Super Varmint rounds. Fantastic factory ammo these. My Tika T3 Super Varmint loves them. Groups bullet on bullet these at 120 yards. Here I'm just checking the ranges to the known spots where foxes come out. You've seen me again, if you've watched my videos for any length of time, you'll have seen me take a family of cubs from that spot there last year. The yardage signs aren't actually out for some reason, they've been removed here off the driving range, but this is the best place to get them into because it's the most open. The trees on this course are really mature and it makes it quite awkward to see. Scanning with the thermal, there is actually a cat in the bottom left of picture there. I've seen that one already, as I see something walking along the field there, as you can see at 160 yards. So I get myself ready, turn off the thermal and have a little look through the night sight to see if I can get a good eye shine back confirming whether it is or isn't a fox at this stage. I also then quickly flick the caller on and see if I can get it to come to me. Sure enough, it almost sprinted across the field, but that skinny tail can only mean one thing. It's another bloody moggy. These things are the bane of my life sometimes. I think it's quite interesting to watch and observe them come in and stalk though. This one actually takes it so easy, it just literally lays down and looks at the caller yards away from it. Anyway, a little later on, and myself and Rick had actually been out on a social distancing foxing mission and come across the cubs to the vixen I shot at the beginning of the programme. We couldn't take them here because we're exiting the farm right next to the farmer's house. It's a hot, humid evening and all of his windows are open and so are his neighbours. We don't want to be making a noise here. So I go home and get my 2.2 LR, and we'll come back and see how I get on with that in just a second. We now pop over to see how Kevin's been getting on. Oi! Great shot, Kev. Nicely done. Now, I said at the beginning of this video I was going to mention what FOMO means. That means field of multiple occupancy. And here, Kevin's got a classic case of a FOMO. He's calling foxes using the best fox call, and I'll actually announce the winner on screen now. And the winner is Simon Matthews. Well done, Simon. I will arrange to get the best fox call original mouth caller sent out to you. I'll be in touch very soon. Now, back to Kevin and his FOMOs. Is he going to get the double? That is the question. And I think that answers that question. Well done, Kevin. Here you can see a seasoned foxer using the lip squeak. Now there you would have thought it bolted and ran, but he gave another squeak. Catches its attention once more. It's inquisitive enough to think, maybe there is a free meal at the end of that squeak. So Kevin keeps his cool, keeps on squeaking, and turns the fox, and this time it comes in. Pretty cautiously though, so a little bit of squeaking at the right time pulls the fox in to within perfect range. Knowing that he's got foliage in front of him, he doesn't want it to come too close because all he's going to get then is whiteout reflection back from the IR. So once it stops for that final time, that's the time to take the shot. Absolutely clinically done there. That's 4 from 4. Well done, Kevin. You never know, next time he might even get the date sorted out on his rifle scope. Next up, this is a shot that Mark took actually from a fox that was also lip squeaked in. He recorded it through his night sight eagle. I recorded it from the front of the truck using the thermal. 87 yards. Got time for one more from Kevin before we flip over to myself for a couple of foxes I've also had out and about, and then we'll see how we got on with those cubs. Well done, mate. That's 5 from 5. You're doing better than me lately. This is the dog fox that I managed to pick up from the cubs. This guy would have been keeping them feeding in the vixen's absence, as this was a day or two later. And then I only just managed to press record on this one. This is a fox that came bounding in at the farm shop after this one had taken some chickens. Pheasant distress call once again on the caller. Here it is. Mark shot the vixen here. I recorded that on the thermal, he got that. It's got to be the dog fox. Yeah. Oh, bloody hell. There's only a young'un. But they've definitely had a family of cubs because look at his tail, it's all been bitted. So yeah, good result here at the farm shop again. Again, that's another good result. Call from the farm shop to turn up, you get it done. Clients are very happy. So how did we get on with these cubs then? Well, As you saw earlier, there's 4 cubs here to deal with. We've taken care of the dog, we've taken care of the vixen. The cubs should be easy going from here on in. As you can see, it was almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I went back. Again, it's relatively close to the farmhouse, so I don't want to be making lots of noise. And the good thing with cubs is you can typically get quite close. Here I ping them at just 57 yards, and I'm using my 22 LR here. You don't need a big rifle if you get this close, and I'm actually sighted in at 60 yards. I felt very comfortable with the shot, and as you'll see here, kind of weird thing, I took the shot with what I thought was the crosshairs sitting perfectly between the eyes, but for some reason it was a clean miss. Second one, I put the crosshairs on the back of the head and dropped it like a stone. I managed to get the other cub at just 30 something yards shortly after that, but I didn't get time to record it because I just looked through the scope and it was just there all of a sudden, so I took the shot and it dropped on the spot as well. I didn't see the other cubs until a couple of nights later. Now they're at the other side of the wood, so this time I've got my 223, so I can actually get to them from a better distance here. I think just over 100 yards with this one here, so much easier with a bigger rifle. And again, I'm not near the farmhouse now, so I can make a bit more noise. Time then for one last fox before we wrap up. This one here is a classic case, much like Kevin's, where you've got a very tentative fox. You need to be cautious with the way you play it. And I've fast forwarded this next bit here because it was over a minute before it made its way extremely cautiously over the field. Now this was a very windy evening. I've got an incredibly stiff right to left breeze. So when the fox actually stopped, and it stopped in a laid down position, I actually put the crosshair just to the right of the or the fox's left of the face for me to be able to get the bullet to strike true. And sure enough, the bullet did, it actually entered the right eye socket. I can't show you any more than that, I'm afraid. YouTube doesn't like the gory stuff. Next time out, we've got some daytime ratting action along with a father-son pigeon outing with some fantastic shots from a young shooter. Join us next time.
What a shot.